Good morning. Today, for our COVID devotional, we're going to continue where we left off yesterday in Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 16. All right, so it says, it's Nehemiah and the Israelites and the Levites are remembering everything that the Lord had done up to this point. Starting in verse 16, it says, "But they and our fathers acted presumptuously." This is Israelites after they had been led out of Egypt. "And stiffened their neck, and did not obey your commandments. They refused to obey, and were not mindful of the wonders that you performed among them. But they stiffened their neck, and appointed a leader to return to their slavery in Egypt. But you are a God ready to forgive, gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love, and did not forsake them. Even when they had made for themselves a golden calf and said, 'This is your God who brought you up out of Egypt,' and had committed great blasphemies, you in your great mercies did not forsake them in the wilderness. The pillar of cloud to lead them in the way did not depart from them by day, nor the pillar of fire by night to light for them the way by which they should go. You gave your good spirit to instruct them, and did not withhold your manna from their mouths, and gave them water for their thirst. 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness, and they lacked nothing. Their clothes did not wear out, and their feet did not swell." So there were a few things that popped to me when I was reading this. And the first thing is that we see that the Israelites strayed from God. Even though he'd done these great wonders, they strayed away from the God that led them out of Egypt. They made a gold calf and they said, "This is our God. This God led us out of Egypt," even though they know who it was. So even though they betrayed him and turned their back on him, it says, "But you are a God ready to forgive, gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. You did not forsake them." And I think that is incredibly important for us to remember, because at times we turn our back on God. We forget all of the things that he's done for us. And we need to remember that he's slow to anger and gracious and merciful and ready to forgive. That's huge in our lives. One of my favorite hymns is a song that says, "Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the Lord I love." That's all of us. We're all prone to wander at those times. And to me, it was so cool when it said in verse 19 that the pillar of cloud to lead them in the way did not depart. And that's so just representative of where we are today. That even when we turn our back on God and we make mistakes, the God that leads us in the way is still in front of us. We still have his guiding pillars in front of us to show us the way. The next thing that jumps out at me is that it says here at the end, 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness, and they lacked nothing. So what it doesn't say is that 40 years they got whatever they wanted. 40 years blessing just poured down on them, and they had the newest clothes and the best gadgets, and they were overflowing with wealth. No, it says that they lacked nothing. Not that they wanted nothing. They lacked nothing, and their clothes didn't wear out. Not that they had an abundance of clothes or the newest clothes, but the clothes they had didn't wear out, and their feet didn't swell. And so sometimes God's blessing in our lives looks like everyday life. He was blessing the Israelites by keeping negative things from happening. But to just the untrained eye, it just looks like nothing happens. But that's God's blessing. God's blessing was just sustaining them, not overflowing them. That's so huge. Sometimes we just need to appreciate the fact that you go to sleep, you wake up, you eat a healthy meal, you're not hungry, you're not too full. That's God's blessing and his sustaining of you. And then finally, the thing that jumped out to me is the Lord was always before them. The pillar of cloud to lead them in the way did not depart from them by day, nor the pillar of fire by night to light for them the way in which they should go. You gave your good spirit to instruct them and did not withhold manna from their mouth. It says, your steadfast love, and did not forsake them. In everything that the Israelites did, it was not the Lord that left his people. It was the people that left the Lord. He was always before them to show them the way. And the people left the Lord. The Lord stayed. I think there's so much we can just pull from that in our everyday lives. But know that when we feel an absence, when we feel that the Lord has left us, we need to ask ourselves, did the Lord leave us, or have we left the Lord? And how do we get back? The Lord be with you today.